about it, all these 100% of cases, only 17 report to the police. About 17%, a recent figures showed. And out of them, only 1.5 get charged. So we're acting as though bare people are going to jail for being, innocent. That's not happening in reality. But the media likes to enforce that notion. It feeds into their, to their image. Like, they want to make it look like women lie, women cry. Women just lie about things, just say it. And if you say that every time somebody comes forward, they feel like they won't be believed, so they won't say it. And every time somebody comes forward, there's so much scrutiny. And reporting a sexual violence is not easy, You don't just report and go to court. It can take 3 years before you even get a trial date, if they take your case.
3 years before you can... Wow.
And if they take your case, some of these cases don't make it. Over 90%, they don't make it to court. And so if your case even goes to court, you have like 3 years to wait sometimes. And in those 3 years, you're advised not to talk to anyone about the case. You're advised not to have counseling, because you can't really talk to your counselor about the case. So it's like, who do you have to talk to? As a church, we're not supporting survivors. In that time, what do? They're by themselves. They're dealing with all that pressure by themselves, whilst other people are telling them that it's their fault, whilst the media is telling them it's their fault, whilst the devil is telling them it's their fault. And then they're breaking, and we're wondering why people are leaving church, and people are hurt, and people are mad and angry. I think that's my pet peeve. I hate it when people say, survivors are so angry. And I'm like, what do you expect? Anyway, anger is not a bad feeling anyway. I don't associate it with bad feelings anymore. It's not a negative feeling. We get angry. God gets angry. Jesus gets angry. It's anger. It's a feeling. But it's almost like in a negative meaning behind it, as though they don't have a right to be angry. They do. And if there's a lack of support, a lot of survivors will resort to, Aria is saying, committing suicide, dying by suicide, to drugs, to alcohol, to gambling. We have a lot of survivors that are now gambling, online bingo, and find themselves in debts. 10,000, 20,000 pounds, because it gives them a community. Online bingo gives you a community. Join us for £50, Foxy Bingo. If you're not allowed to talk about your case, if you have that family online. And so, I think as churches, people won't come forward until we create a safe space for them. And it looks like it's by allowing survivors to be part of the process when it comes to safeguarding policies and what it's going to look like, and allowing them to have a voice, by churches really preaching that word and teaching. It doesn't have to be Sundays. It can be Bible studies. It can be anything. You can book an extra session a month to talk about this. Bring people in to do workshops, on sexual violence, on consent. Show people that you actively care. Because I really believe that there's a lot of pastors that are silent, and actually silence is complicity. If you are complicit in that behavior, there is no middle ground. There is no lukewarm. If you are silent, you're complicit. And so don't be silent. Use your influence to get people in and have these conversations early. And at the end of the day, I've worked with pastors, and I've been with pastors who will say, "Oh, there's a time in this season to have these conversations." When everyone has already, experienced sexual violence? When is the time in the season? There are certain things that we don't need time and season for. There's certain things you don't need to pray about for God to tell you need to do them. You need to do them. If you see, you don't pray, God, shall I give him £1? You just know to give him £1. So let's not use time and season for an excuse for something that you might not be comfortable doing.
So you're saying that we as a body of Christ, we should have more honesty. The fact that maybe we don't have the skills or the artillery to be able to deal with the subject, and actually we should be trying to find ways to reach out to more qualified personnel to help us be educated.
Yeah, there's organizations like mine. I do free I will sit down with you and do your safeguarding policy with you and go over it. And I will deliver training sessions. There's so many more organizations that do it. My good sister Litso is currently working on child abuse charity. You know, there is just so many charities out there that will sit with you, that will work with you, that will, you know, design this for you, that will look at your policies and let you know where there are gaps. As churches, we need to sit down. If you don't know, as a pastor, if you don't know how to do surgery on somebody who's been stabbed, you know, every church should have a first aid kit and a first aider. Every church should have a first aid kit and a first aider. Every business has one. Now, if we can have a first aid kit for injuries, why don't we have first aid kit for mental health? Why don't we have first aid kit for sexual violence? Why don't we have first aid kit for domestic violence? When somebody comes to you, you should be able to say, this is my first aid kit. These are the services that are available to you. Pastors don't even know about services. There's people that don't know that rape crisis service exists. There's a national helpline that you can talk to anonymously. There's a live chat that is open that you can chat to. And so if you don't know these services exist and you don't educate yourself in that subject because you don't deem it important, because it doesn't affect you, you're failing so many of us. And we really need to, like, come in, let's sit down, let's approach this, let's have meetings, you know, until we get it right. Because I'm not saying this will happen tomorrow. You know, it's a process. Like me and you, we've been having these conversations for, what, 2-3 years?
Yeah.
It takes a while. But let's have conversations, you know, let's not be shy away from them. It's okay. And once we do, women will feel more comfortable, men will feel more comfortable, girls and boys will feel more comfortable. And then let's appoint a pastoral care leader. Somebody outside of the pastor, or maybe the pastor, who will now deal with this subject. And that you're overworked. And that you're busy. And so there's so much going on. But let's appoint somebody who deals with that area. So there is always somebody there. So that when somebody comes to you and tells you about their experience, you know, these are the services that are available to you. These are the counseling services they have. This is the counseling service we have. And this is how we support you. This is how Rape Crisis supports you. This is how the helpline supports you. Now you can make a choice. Now you can make a choice. Which choice works best for you? And I think choice is the most important, because even though consent is choice, consent is also important when it comes to the choice you make regarding what has happened to you. You should have the choice to say, actually, I don't want to report. That's okay. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that you lied. It just means that you don't want to deal with the pressure that comes with reporting. Okay, because it's not easy. You know, sometimes they'll take your phones. I've worked with clients who said, you know what, I wanted to report. Then they said they want my phone. But previously, I've done a lot of bad things. Maybe drugs.
Yeah, it's gonna,
now, if they find out on my phone, that's a problem. So now, withdrawing my whole case because I watch illegal movies on my phone one point, or I saw drugs at one point. And so there's just so much attached to it. So most people will withdraw their cases because it's taking long, because it's affecting every aspect of their lives, because they're tired. They're absolutely tired of a person that is not going to take accountability for their actions. You know, so they should have the choice to say, actually, Pastor, I'm telling you because I want support, but I don't want to report. And that should be okay. Nobody should be made to report. And then somebody might come and say, I want to report. And as a church, you should support that.
That's even a question. Literally, the question I was going to be on. Should victims be advised to, I guess, report to the police about sexual assault or rape in that case, in regards to sexual violence? Should they, as we as a body of Christ, how do we look at it? Should we be, you know, pushing for that? Should we advise around that? Should we, I mean, what's our position on that? Because, I mean, obviously, I know traditionally we are quite silent sometimes on these subjects. What's our kind of, what would be the kind of protocol we should be looking at in terms of being a body of Christ and dealing with this subject? Should we be reporting? Should we be, you know, what would be our default position?
Yeah, 100%. I think churches should work closely with independent sexual advocates. So those are people who support survivors through the criminal justice system. They take referrals. I think churches should work very closely with them. I think churches should, you know what? We follow the laws of the land until it gets to reporting.
Mm.
The laws of the land, you have committed a crime. Grace is available to you, but you still committed that crime.
Mm.
A survivor should have the right to report you.
Mm.
And so, you know, I heard a lot of pastors say, oh, the Bible says that 2 or 3 should confirm before it's taken up to court. No. Survivors should have the right to report. And as churches, we should support them. We shouldn't be bashing them for doing so. They shouldn't be shamed, you know, guilt tripped into not. You know, I've had a lot of clients tell me that a pastor told them that they have to forgive.
Can we go deeper into that a little bit? Can we press that a little bit more? Because I think can we go a little bit deeper into that, because I think that's a major thing there. So using the Bible almost as a weapon to kind of nullify a victim's kind of right to be able to report this. Can we go a little bit deeper into that, please?
Yeah, it's coercion. You're coercing somebody into not reporting because it makes you uncomfortable, or you want to protect the person. And there's actually been a lot of cases where perpetrators have then gone on to abuse 5, 6 more people.
Wow.
At the end of the day, we shouldn't be using God's word for that. You know, there is forgiveness for what you're doing. However, you should be reported.
3 minute, very good point. Great point. Yeah.
When somebody gets pregnant out of wedlock, woo! And we know all the things to say, but somebody has sexually abused someone or has been accused of it, and we are silent. And we are silent, and we ask people to forgive. And forgiveness has to, first of all, be a personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think what I've learned is that I thought that, you know, as a survivor myself, I thought that if I, you know, grew in my faith, I'll just get over it. And I learned quickly that actually that's not what happens. I choose to forgive every single day. And some days are good, and some days are bad. Some days I'm like, today's a good day. And other days, if I see you on the street, is a problem for you. And as we shouldn't guilt trip survivors into feeling like God won't love them if they don't forgive their perpetrator. Guilt trip survivors into feeling like God won't love them if they report their perpetrator. That is not true. We need to stop. You know, it's almost like, you know, when we were kids and our parents used to lie to us using the word. And they, you know, having a boyfriend is a sin. That's nothing. But it reminds me of the enemy. It reminds me of the devil. You know, when he was a serpent and he was in the Garden Eden, he twisted God's word and made it look a certain way to benefit his cause. And when I see parents and leaders twist God's word like that, it reminds me of that. It reminds me of that. And the word is good news. When we know that the word is good news, you know what, we shouldn't be twisting the words for our personal gain in order to get people not to report because it makes us uncomfortable. And so those are the conversations we need to be having with leaders as well. Somebody comes forward, support them.
Awesome, yeah.
If that means like just letting them know what services to go to, if that means if they need support going to the prison, and even if we take a few steps back, you know, as soon as sexual violence happens, if something happens, the act happens, you know, you have about 7 days to get DNA.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You can go to a SARC, a Sexual Assault Referral Center. If you don't know that, I just want to let you know that you can go to a Sexual Assault Referral Center. They're called SARCs. They're all country. And when something happens to you, you have the choice to go to that clinic and get DNA. Now, it doesn't have to report. That evidence is there. They keep it there for about 2-3 years. And sometimes you can call them, tell them to extend it.
Okay.
Just so you have it. If you ever choose to report, you have it. And so those are the kind of informations that leaders should be giving.
This is it, yeah.
So that you know. Do you get what I mean? When someone stops breathing, you know to, you know, do CPR. That's the kind of things we need to know. I know that there is a SARC. When did it happen? Okay, we can go together. I can support you in this. So I think as a church, there is just so much we can do. It starts with just a single grain. single grain of support, and then it grows into more. And if our members see that we are supportive as leaders, how much more supportive will they be? If we're educating them, and we are the people. I have a passion for educating people and raising awareness and delivering training sessions for churches, because we are the people that sit on juries. If we are called to sit on juries and we believe in those myths,
we're finished.
We'll always get off free. So once we're educated, we are not educating our friends and family. Once we're called for jury service, we know actually those myths that the defense lawyers want us to believe are not true. And now we're not falling for those traps anymore. Can you post some links to resources so I can share with other ministers? Yes, if you follow Hassana, let me just...
It's on the www. Your Facebook there.
On if you email me on Hassana, I will send you an email. But you can also follow me on Instagram. I've just posted the Hassana Instagram page, and now I can send some resources over. I deliver training sessions, 1 hour, full day. I deliver like anything, so you can tell me exactly what you need, and then I'll get that sorted. And if I can't do it, I'll always get something.
And let me say, if you say this to your leader at your church, we've got somebody who can do the job to teach the congregation, and your pastor blocks it. They are an EOD, enemy of destiny, and EOP, enemy of progress. We need to start checking them. No, I'm being real. I'm being deadly serious now. Now I'm being deadly serious. Because on the realist thing, if we have people in the faith, this is not something, this is someone who hasn't got faith. We have somebody who knows the word, who has faith, who's born again, who also understands this subject very, very well. You understand? And if we have leaders and we can tell them that we have people in the faith who can do this job to teach people how we can react in these situations, and they block it, they are an EOP and an EOD. We should start holding them to account. I'm being deadly serious now. We should start holding them to account, because what you're saying is, you don't mind if she was a business entrepreneur who's making £1 million per year, you'd be calling her straight and say, get her into the church. We don't mind her doing a business seminar. But now a serious subject like this, if we mention it to our leaders and they start to block it, there are EOP and an EOD of our particular kingdom. You understand? We have to get people to understand. If you're a leader and you're coming to block this particular thing, I've opened it. Anyway, please continue. Let me get back in my corner.
It's so true though, because you know what, at the end of the day, I've been with people and I've grown up with people who have blocked it and who have said, no, it's not the time and season, no, not really on it at the moment, I'll think about it. What is there to think about? If 1 in 3 girls is experiencing sexual assault in uniform before the age of 16, what is there to think about? Until it's in your backyard, you won't think about it. Is that what you... And we need to have these conversations. It's uncomfortable. You know, a lot of preachers say, oh, I don't really want people to listen to the word of sex. You know, it might be encouraging people to have sex. First of all, people in the church are having sex.
Yes, they're having sex.
That is the fact.
But
I
just
really
by that,
want
in the
to,
past.
but we've all sinned. Yeah, of us. And people are having sex. And so, first of all, we are seeing that actually, you know, because we shouldn't be having sex, but we are. There is a lot of violence in the church for young people, unmarried people. And then on top of it, married people are also experiencing sexual violence.
Which is, there's a question someone asked, I want to add it because we've done into it. How do we ensure conversations about sexual violence are a part of marriage counselling? Because apparently it's needed.
You know what? Because I'm not married, I've not been to marriage counselling. I wouldn't know that it's not a conversation. But I guess when you are working with a church to do the safeguarding policies and work with them, you will ask those questions to find out if it's included. But yeah, it should be. You know, I think it should be taught that actually if your wife is not on it, she's not on it.
I hear that.
I read it was like a snippet of a news article from the 70s, and it was for women. It was in a women magazine, I guess. And it was saying that, oh, as a woman, if your husband wants to have sex, you just say yeah. If you don't feel like it, it doesn't matter. Just lie there and let him be satisfied.
Hi.
And I was thinking, whoa, but it still happens, you know. And I think some people still have these conversations. I read a tweet yesterday and I laughed. Somebody said on Twitter, I don't get relationship advice from African aunties because I know it involves suffering.
No, yeah.
That's so true. Because really and truly, like, when I have these conversations with like elders, and it involves suffering, it involves sometimes you have to make sacrifices, isn't it? Even if you're not in the mood. Like, I think that's very dangerous. Oh, good question.
Ooh.
Pre, you're
That's
asking,
so pre-question. Yeah, that's so pre-question.
you're asking a question. You know what? I think that's something that I'm working on, and I'm talking to a lot of survivors, too. But uh, like, if you're a survivor, how do you deal with that trauma in your marriage, in
Mm.
your sexual relationships? And we actually see that actually it has a lot of influence. A lot of people don't think it will have, and then you're in the relationship, and then it has a lot of influence. And, Jackie Hill Perry talks about it really well. I know Susan Deborah has a podcast on it, so make sure I'll put it online. But Susan has a podcast on it. Jackie Hill Perry speaks on it. But Jackie Hill Perry has a whole podcast where she says that actually, even to this day, she sees a counselor because sex to her is still a dirty thing.
Wow.
As a child, she was molested as a child. And so to her, it's still very painful, it's still very traumatic. Sex to her, it's supposed to glorify God, it's supposed to be something good, something to worship, but it doesn't feel that way because of the previous trauma. And so we see that a lot. And so there has to be a lot of healing. And those are conversations that ideally should be coming up during marriage counseling. And so that you both know how to deal with it. And till this day, Jackie and her husband go to counseling separately and together to deal with that. So I think every person is different. So I don't want to say one glove fits all, one shoe fits all. But if you do feel like actually this is still getting to me, and I don't really want to enter marriage or that relationship this way without addressing it, then you definitely should. I think it's important that you do. It's important that you do address it.
How do we deal with? I think someone asked me. There are obviously some situations where pastors or elders may silence the victim by saying if they share their story, it can affect their chance of marriage in the future. And there's other reasons as well, because pastors and elders will say what they feel like to be able to get that person. How do we deal? I know I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier on. How do we deal with pressures from on high to prevent someone from circumventing this and going either reporting it or speaking about it? How do we deal with that?
By us calling behavior out. There's nothing wrong with if you see it happening, pulling your leader to the side and having a conversation with them in a private setting, but saying, you know what, I overheard this maybe, or I heard this and I feel a bit uncomfortable with that. Can we have a conversation about that? And there's nothing wrong with going to survivors and letting them know that actually that's not true. I think it happens quite a lot, and we want to make sure that survivors know that that is not true. They might know it in their head, but they need to hear it from us. It comes with a certain power, a certain confidence, to know that people believe in you just as much as you believe in you. People believe your story, and regardless of whatever pastor has to say about it or leader has to say about it, it doesn't change the fact that this happened to you and you have a voice and you should be talking about it if you feel like it. So let's call people out for their behavior, because if a pastor was taking church money, you would call them out, innit? You would drag, all of us that have dragged certain pastors on the TL. Just saying. So call behavior out, maybe not on the TL, but just let them know respectfully. I feel like I've come to a place where now I'll really speak to a pastor and say, actually, that part, I'm not too sure. Can you explain your thinking behind it? And then have a conversation. If they still are adamant that actually that's what they believe, then you have to take further steps. Because if that charity commission, then it means going to the charity commission, because the church is, you know what I mean? I will take whatever steps necessary to make sure that everyone gets justice if they need it. And we shouldn't be so afraid to call churches out on their behavior. Because Jesus called the church out when they were selling stuff in the church. He called them out. He called them out. And so, let's call churches out.
Definitely agree with that. 100%.
More questions in the...
You got questions in this?
Yeah, we have... What, do you have any on yours?
I haven't said them more, actually.
I have a question on Do you think religious ministers are professionally competent to lead the discussion about sexual assault? I think from a religious perspective, a faith perspective, if they studied the words surrounding it, yes. To talk about how God sees sexual assault. When it comes to support services and the practical steps, I would always bring in somebody who has a specialism in it. You know, you can tell me things about business as God's view on it, but you are not the specialist. So I'm not going to come to you for how to trade and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think I can come to you for the word, which is fine. And if you want to educate yourself on it yourself, then great, because then you can on it yourself. But if not, then bring other services into it. I think we shouldn't, as churches, we shouldn't be so tight with having other people come to our church, even if they're not a Christian organization.
Yeah.
They're just coming to support us. It's not, but like I said, most churches are more comfortable with a Christian organization coming in to talk. And so Christian organizations are available, so we can do that as well. But I would bring in a specialist, ideally.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and ideally, I would also, what I find is that some people ask me to come to their churches to speak to their survivors as well. So then that support is also available.
I definitely agree with that. I think as well, just because we've had about 40, 50 people, maybe 60 people in this chat as well, you know, I want us to also as well be responsible in the sense of the fact that, look, we're also part of we're also part of the solution as well. And I say this because I'm not going to mention the church, and it's not SPAC, so don't worry. Another church had a situation where there was a rape case, and actually the members actually sided with the perpetrator and caused the person who's a victim to have to end up leaving. But they weren't the only victim. There were several. And they denied them all justice. So they became part of now the poison that was seeping in that church because they decided they were going to circumvent and block, the justice from happening. So I want all of us who are in this chat as well, depending on, we all have different levels. So whether we need to go and get educated, etc., what I'm saying to you is that, look, we're also part of the solution. You know, some pastors also too, they're blindsided on this side and they can't see on this side, and they need you to be able to say, listen, look, hey, I think there's some resource out there that we can actually use to get that. That's why I said about if they then reject it, they become EOP, because some people don't know at this moment. They don't have that information at hand at the moment. Do you understand? And this is why even God in the Bible, you know, He brought the law so that you will know that you are a sinner. You understand? So when the person's not aware, when you tell them they've become aware, at that point, are they going to now make action, or are they going to stand still? And this is what I'm going to say, something very, very scary. Guys, you see, leadership can't just be about preaching Jesus, fam. If Jesus is not about entering into spaces, which actually is about justice too. Do you understand? Because the Bible talks about this particular thing happening. So let's not be comfortable. You understand? We've got things that are hitting people. Let's not wait till it's your sister, or it's your friend, or it's your mum, or it's your cousin. Don't wait till that moment before we start doing something. So not necessarily telling you to go out there and start being a vigilante. All I'm saying is this is maybe an opportunity for us. There are 40, 50 people, all different churches. You have tentacles. Now bring this to your leader. And when you start seeing the reaction, you'll start to see why it's such a difficult subject to get past. Why it's so difficult to actually begin to bring a change. Because even when you bring it to somebody like, hey, please, our church is a good church. That doesn't happen here. Then your eyes will open to whether we're playing church or we're doing church. Because the two are different. Oftentimes we're playing church, which is the building. We're tired of that. That's why we're in quarantine right now. Your church is closed. You understand? So the church is now the body of Christ. How do we treat each other? But please, again, Chris, go continue.
No, I totally agree with that. I think if they don't know, it's different. If you bring it for them and it's still like a closed door and people don't want you to come in with it, I have a problem with that. That's why our churches that have opened the door, you know, I have these conversations. You know, I have a lot of survivors that ask me what church, you know, and I struggle with this sometimes. What church do you think I should go to as a survivor that will support me? Not just spiritually, but on this side as well of my trauma. And I with that because what churches will I tell you to go to? If I don't to actually be equipped to work with you. You know, And so, like, churches that I know are really doing well, for example, a new thing, A&T, based in South London, they're doing really great because they're trying to really, like, have a system and a service that caters to everyone, survivors of sexual violence, but to everyone, there's churches around. I've worked with Baptist Church, Lois's dad, Pastor Oscar's church, in North London, Enfield, and they're all doing really great work who have said, you know what, come in, let's have these conversations. No lid. Educate me. I love Pastor Edward Ajamine. Like, we sit down, educate me. Let's talk. How do you feel about it? And I think these are the conversations, even if you necessarily don't agree with me now, like me and you, it took 2-3 years for us to get to this point.
I know, yeah, exactly.
You were clashing with me. You were saying, no, that's not rape, that's not that, that's not that.
It's true.
Well, and I'm not saying that, like we said, it doesn't happen today and tomorrow, but after a while, once we have these conversations, things fall in place, and as I can then establish what people are thinking, I can kind of work with that, and I can create like programs and training sessions that kind of deal with your areas of concern. And I think, like, let's have these conversations, let's talk, let's get it wrong. I'd rather we get it wrong between us before we go out in the world. Let's get it wrong, fix it, try it again. I think at the moment we are doing okay, but we need to do better. And like I said, it's the body of Christ that does the most of the healing. Counseling services, support services are just the cast. But when muscle, when something is broken, a bone is broken, our body, the body itself does the healing, most of it. We are doing the healing. We need to help. We need to do the healing. Some of our parts are broken. Our women and girls are broken. Black women experience sexual violence more than Asian women and white women. But only make up like 2% of the population in England and Wales.
Hi, say that again. So we
make up only 3% of the population in England and Wales. Yet we experience sexual violence at higher rates than white and Asian people. And we are less likely to report. We're carrying, black women, we're just so designed to carry people's burdens. We always carry that weight and do things ourselves. And it gets heavy. It gets tiring. And then on top of it, one of the things that I'm seeing we're seeing as well is that black women, research has shown that black women are less likely to report their perpetrators if they're also black men. Because we understand that the criminal justice system is flawed. Add to the pressure of you being part of a faulty criminal justice system, even though you've done us wrong.
That's crazy.
Even when we are the victims, we take care of everyone else around us. And the least, let's help take that burden, alleviate that weight of people. It's important. The black women need a safe space just for them. Somebody asked, as black men, how can we protect our women better, more effectively? Let's call behavior out.
That's absolutely the main thing.
Most men that I speak to, none of my boys do that. I'm confused because people are doing it.
Someone's doing it.
Yeah, somebody's doing it. So none of you all can't say none of my boys are doing it. You know what I mean? And so, for example, there was a man that was part of I think grime group that recently went to jail.
Oh yes.
14 counts of, it was even more. Kidnapping, rape, all sorts of things. His band members were quiet. And this is why I say silence is complicity. If you're silent, complicit. Because are you tolerating that behavior? Let's be accountable. Let's tell our fellow brothers, actually, this doesn't run. That girl just said no. Is that girl consenting? If they're telling you stories about their night out, first of all, no sex before marriage. But if they're still telling you stories about their night out, things that are happening, call that behavior out. That's what we do in love. We're Christians. Call the behavior out. Let them know. If we know somebody who has done it, somebody asks a question, what happens if the person did it, but they've repented now? If a person did it, but they repented now, what should happen to them? If you did it and you repented, you should take accountability.
Yep. If that means jail, it means jail.
If it means jail, it means jail. If the person then decides to report, they decide to report. If not, then they don't. But I feel like for most survivors, it's not even It's not about whether you get 5 years in jail or 8 years in jail or 20 years in jail. It's that there's accountability that you did. You know, it's the fact that, wait, somebody agrees with me, somebody believes me, they believe that you did it. And if you can take that accountability and say, yes, I did it, yeah. And if the person then decides, you know what, I still want to report, then they want to report. And you have to deal with it. And there's definitely grace, and you know, God has forgiven you from jail. You've repented. It is where it is. But yeah, you will definitely be serving from jail. Yeah.
Okay. We are at almost the tip of the thing. I think we should probably do another 15 minutes or so, give people some time to ask last kind of final questions to kind of bring it to conclusion. I'm sure people got some more questions they want to ask. So if we just end it here and I do it again, by the grace of God, this will work smooth.
That's fine, please.
This will work smooth. So we're going to go on our last leg of the situation. Get your questions ready. Please still invite people to come into the chat because there's going to be so much to learn in the last leg of this. We're going to do about 15 to 30 minutes max, I believe.
Yeah,
that's what I tried to say. Yeah, and even what Nisha said about hip hop language is absolutely right. It also feeds into that, and we're going to talk about all of that as well. So, guys, 2 seconds. I'm going to go off it.
Ed, please ask it again.
Ask it again when we do reload it. Please ask again. My bad. I do apologize. We'll come back. All right, 2 secs. I want to save. How do I? I'm still live, you know. All right, guys, let me end it so I can save it, innit? Oh my days! I'm such a grandpa, fam. What is going on? Is it working, guys? Are we working? I'm praying that it works straight away. You know how the enemy try to come at me, fam. You understand? It's working, yeah? You can see me, you guys, yeah? Oh, okay, by the grace. Oh, you there, yeah?
Yeah, I'm here. You made it.
Because I thought we were going to have trouble. All right. We'll give everyone a few seconds to come back in. Again, guys, thank you so much. I know this is getting a bit late as well, but it's quarantine, so you ain't going nowhere. But, you know, I really appreciate you guys who are involved in this particular live. Again, we want your questions to come through. I'll be writing them down as you put them in the comments. Or if you inbox me on Insta as well. But yeah, please give us your questions so we can start kind of speaking about it and kind of just going over it. If there's anything that you want to ask, and listen, I know sometimes we're in class and we're like, I missed it and I didn't hear it. Ask it again, you understand? Because I want everyone to be educated to some degree. I mean, I spent 2-3 years listening to this, and trust me, it reforms your mind and it re-educates you and actually gets you to a place where you can actually start to call stuff out. So guys, if you've got any questions, please do comment and drop the questions below so that we can begin to answer those questions. Pri, I've seen your questions, so I will write that down as well.
Super.
The question, I want to have it, but it's every time I do it, it breaks. Every time I do it, it breaks.
And he doesn't even have to.
It breaks. It breaks.
If you have a question, if you can DM it.
If it's personal, DM it, yeah, because it's the way the thing is working.
If it's, right. Let me just put the website details on there. Don't do it. You can go on hassana.org and you can ask it anonymously as well on the chat box on the website. So then I'll see it. It will come up on my phone. So if you click on that website, or if you go on that website, you'll be able to chat anonymously. And we'll be able to see it. Sorry about that. But if you put in the comments, we'll just try to see it. So I'm just scrolling up now to see some of the comments. How does one deal with when a parent blames them for the sexual abuse? Okay, how does a person deal with the fact that when their parent blames them for the abuse? You know what? I think it's one of the hardest things because our parents are supposed to love us and protect us, and they're supposed to make us feel like, your parents are supposed to be your cheerleaders. When nobody else in this world believes you, your parents are supposed to believe you. If no one else, um, supports you, your parents are supposed to support you. And I totally get it. It's devastating. It's hurtful. You feel abandoned. And I think definitely getting somebody to speak to and with a counselor possibly is really important, because you know what, a lot of people can tell you a thing, but it doesn't matter until your mom or your dad tells you. A lot of people can tell you, you know what, it's not your fault, it's not your fault, it's not your fault, but it's not until your parents tell you that you really feel free. And so definitely, it's important to talk about those feelings and how those things make you feel. So definitely do speak to somebody about it. It's also possible to obviously sit your parents down if they're up for it, if they're the type of parents who will sit down and listen. But yeah, we do know that most of our parents have certain ideas and views that we get change. What does someone do when someone who sexually assaulted or raped them what does someone do if their perpetrator tries to get back into their lives?
Too late, yeah.
We see that quite a lot, especially when the perpetrator is a family member. Because they're around you most of the time anyway, and it can feel really conflicting especially because you know what, if the perpetrator especially is like a close family member, maybe a dad, a brother, you love that person, but you don't love what they do to you and how that makes you feel. And a lot of survivors feel guilty for loving the people. It's normal. You love that person. That person means that they do things to you that you don't like. And I think the best way to deal with it is possibly the people that you do trust in your circle, to have conversations with those family members. If you're uncomfortable with it, share that actually I'm not really comfortable, and therefore I'm setting this boundary that when that person's here, I'm not here, and all of you have to respect that. And ideally, you would obviously hope that they would put you before that person. I know in some families that doesn't happen. That can be really hurtful. But again, let's have these conversations. If you want more support on like a step-to-step guide, and that, the website is always online, so you can always message anonymously and we can have a conversation about these kind of things. But yeah.
Another question. It was, how could someone deal with gaslighting from the church?
You know what? That's a good question. I guess it's, I want to say standing firm, but it's hard in this kind of case because if everyone knew that you're at fault, it's really hard to believe that you're not at fault because you start to internalize that. And so I think finding a spot where you feel grounded and safe, finding a person who reminds you of those things. For me, I am blessed to be surrounded by a very supportive system of friends, family members, my little sister, my friends Kojo, Clara, Ozzy, Femi, Delitso, lawyers. I have so many great people, EK, who are really supportive and they stand by me. And even if I feel like I'm shaking, they don't let me shake. If I feel like I'm giving up, they don't let me give up. And so it's really, really important that we're having these conversations with the people that we feel safest around.
Okay, yeah.
If we're not feeling good, we let them know that actually I'm not feeling good. But I am 100% an advocate of get a therapist. 100%. Access counseling. The trauma that you've experienced is so deep. Yeah, like so deep. In the Old Testament, you would get killed. Perpetrators got killed for it.
All of them die.
It says that it's like death. You die because basically you've killed the other person. Taking that part of the person without consent, it's like death. A lot of survivors, that feeling feels like grief. There's even a part of them that they've lost. And so definitely speak to people about it. Don't just be by yourself. Don't be confined in that space by yourself. How do you deal with the lack of help from the church?
Okay.
Miss D, can you tell me, is it as an organization, as a charity, or as a survivor personally? Can you let me know? How do you fully let go and forgive them so it doesn't have a long-term effect on your future relationships?
Yeah.
You know what? I'll be real with you. I'm still learning. I always tell my clients, I'm very honest with that forgiveness is a personal journey, and you forgive when you're ready to forgive. And I don't think it's a one-time thing. I think you do it every day. And like I said earlier, sometimes forgiveness is good, and other times, on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, I'm not so forgiving.
Wow.
Okay? Let me be real. On other days, if I saw you on the street, my perpetrator, if I had a gun, I would shoot you. Let me be real. And so, I don't want churches to make you feel like if you haven't forgiven, you're less loved, or you're less, Christian, or, you're not spiritual enough. That's why you haven't forgiven. You don't pray enough. That's not the reason. It's because it's a hard process. It happens every single day. You're trying. Give yourself props for that, and just do it every day. Sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it won't be. But we go on. We try and we try over and over again. And I think it's really important for you to forgive yourself. It's really important for you to be in a place where you know and you forgive yourself for freezing, even though there's nothing to forgive because it's not your fault. But most of us hold grudges and pain regarding ourselves. Forgive yourself for whatever your reaction was. Forgive yourself for wherever you were going. Forgive yourself for whatever you were wearing. It doesn't matter. And then I think for some people it's also forgiving God. Because for some people, it happened to me. If you're so sovereign, if you're everywhere, if you saw this happening, why did you feel like I should be going through this?
This is big.
Why should somebody get to do that for me? Why should somebody do this to me and I have to carry the shame? I have to deal with the consequences of this act. And most people get scot-free. They start families. They may have families already. They start businesses. They're living their best lives. Some of them get rich. Some of them, start businesses and become successful. And I'm dealing with the aftermath of action I didn't choose. It's so important that we start forgiving God for those things as well. Like we always pray that God should forgive us, but who says that we don't hold grudges against God? Let's start forgiving God for these things. And then I think as we're doing those kind of things, slowly and slowly, it's a slow process, but we get there. And then for other people, it's not. So for other people, it's like, I've forgiven. And it happens, but give yourself time. Don't compare your journey with anyone else's.
That's a very big one, I think. That's a very big one, I think. Talking about that, the forgiveness, I think, of God and stuff like that. I don't know, because obviously we don't talk about it in church anyway, so that's something that's not going to ever be spoken about. That particular part there, that's huge. Yeah. That's huge.
So I think, Lois, you're right. I think forgiving God is a very hard part because first of all, you have to forgive yourself for being angry at Him in the first place. Because you're wrong for that, and then you've forgiven Him for everything else that you hold. And somebody says, I think it's understand that we all have free will. That God's not controlling us, so when it's not going, He didn't allow it to happen. 100%. Somebody doing what they did to you doesn't mean that God still doesn't reign and it's not sovereign, that He doesn't care, or that He let it. Like things happen.
Things do happen, yeah.
People make choices. That person made the choice to do that to you. So let's forgive ourselves, let's forgive God, and let's forgive the perpetrator when the time is right. When you feel like you can.
This is deep. Okay, any more questions, guys? Any more questions? Please do keep sending in your questions so we can keep answering these things. I think, obviously, from my perspective in regards to this particular topic, I think after spending 2-3 years, I remember a situation quite recently at work, and it was myself, another guy, and 2 other girls, right? And obviously, as work conversation does, it flows into sex. And the guy was giving his account of a situation where the girl got slightly incoherent with a bit of drink, and he made a joke about, sleeping with her, rah, rah, rah. And I just paused and I said, bro, this is not a joke we can make, man. This is not a joke we can make. This is bro, as much as you think it's a joke, that's the mentality that is perpetrated and then becomes segmented in somebody's mind as an action. I said, it might not be you ever trying to do this thing. You may never think about doing it, but it's that I become part of the perpetrator's kind of. I become, how do you say, a co-conspirator in almost in a sense by allowing this kind of conversation to go on unchecked. Do you understand? So, and the only reason why I could do that is because I had an awareness now. There was an awareness now that this is incorrect behavior and you can't stand around. Because we've had a conversation about this for time and we argued about a lot of different scenarios, etc., etc. And I think I even mentioned, I said in my younger days, so I'm going to expose myself, I don't really mind because I like to tell the truth. In my younger days, when we were in school, I went to the school was 90% black. So boys and girls were, if it wasn't sexual assault for us, if anybody was in South London, you might know, we used to call it touch up and feel up. Girls are touching boys on their penis without asking. Guys are touching up girls' bums, on their skirts, everything like that. And we thought it was normal because that's what everyone's doing. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it. And when you get to the corridor, people are doing it. People are doing it here. People are doing it here. But actually, when you look back on it and you start to look at that behavior, you're like, rah, that is, first of all, irresponsible. Second of all, when you do attach the word sexual assault to it, you do begin to kind of come to awareness that was messed up.
Yeah.
You know, that was messed up. So, but just wanted to kind of add that so that, because I think that, obviously I know that women are a bit more aware with this subject, but for us guys, like, some of this behavior has been normalized for so long. Do you understand? And obviously most of us don't make the jump and the link to go into that behavior when we get older. We realize there is a boundary, do you understand? But there's a lot of guys who refuse to listen to the boundary, and will keep on with their entitlement to do that behavior continually. But it started from the fact that when we were younger, we were never checked, and some of their behaviors of entitlement and pride and all that stuff was also not checked. So when they got older, they just continued it on. So I'm kind of I want the guys in this chat as well to be aware that some of our behaviors, they are not normal. They are not normal. You understand? So kind of just wanted to bring that into a kind of situation as well.
100%. I agree.
Boundaries, yes.
100% boundaries. Like, you know, we need to just be really respectful. Somebody just said that, and I agree with that. Boundaries are key. And what happens during sexual violence, all forms of sexual violence, is somebody's boundaries have been ignored. That's what happens basically. That's what basically it is, that you've seen my boundaries and you didn't care enough and you overstepped. You know, you walked past them. And I think the work that we need to be doing as churches and services, restoring that boundary back.
I like that.
That it's okay to have those boundaries, you know. And therefore, we need to be respectful. We need to mirror that by saying, you know, these are the boundaries that, for example, my service, our time is 50 minutes a session. I'm boundaried about that. If you come late, you finish at the time that you are still meant to finish. I don't start the 50-minute clock later. Not because I don't care, not because I don't have time, but because I'm letting you know that that's my boundary. And we will respect that. And I'm respect your boundary. And from this day forward, everywhere we go, we will make people respect our boundaries. You know? And although some people will overstep, we will know that it's not our fault. You know, I think it's really important that we're having this conversation. We're saying, yeah, it's okay to have boundaries. I love having boundaries. Love having boundaries. It doesn't make you stodgy. It doesn't make you anything. You should have your boundaries and stick to them where you can, you know. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for it. Somebody asked a good question and said, is it right to advise people on prevention, such as walking home by yourself when it gets dark, such as, you know, possibly wearing headphones and all that stuff? And I know the media does it a lot, you know, don't wear headphones, you know, when you're walking. I feel like it should be more, it should be directed at men, just don't rape.
Yeah.
Don't assault people, you know, because whether I have headphones on or not, I might hear you earlier, but if I freeze anyway, you're still going to do what you're going to do. And so it shouldn't be me protecting myself. It's you not giving me a reason to protect myself. So I call your behavior out. And you shouldn't be putting... So what? Now I can't listen to music. I can't wear my ripped jeans. I can't wear a skirt. What else am I supposed to be doing? And it's not going to stop anything. Yeah, they're still going to be doing what they do.
Yeah. Plus the statistics, as you said earlier on, is that most people are familiar to you anyway.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter whether you wear headphones on. So yeah, a lot of people want to, again, shifting the blame and placing it on everything but the perpetrator. That we want to place the blame on anything. It must be the headphones, it must be the skirt. Placing the blame on everything by the perpetrator, but the shame has to go with the perpetrator. Be placed on him. Because it's one of those things that the shame has to go on somewhere. It doesn't fly, which means that it doesn't just float. It has to fall on someone. If it doesn't fall on the perpetrator, who does it fall on? The survivor. So it has to fall on somebody. And so you can't let it fall on the survivor because it's not their fault. And so it has to go where it needs to go, and that's with the perpetrator. Somebody said, what happens if it's a friend? A friend wants to reconnect with you after?
No, I was going to say, that's a good question, because you do get a lot of those where the friend realizes that he's done some madness to you and then gives you a little message like saying, are you okay? Yeah.
I think that's a choice you need to make for yourself, honestly. I think that everyone should make those choices for themselves. I don't think there's like a recipe for that. If you feel like you want to reconnect with them, then I guess you can. Personally, that's not something I would choose to do. And that's just personally, because there's so many things that come up, you know, trauma that comes up with certain people, you know. You might not feel it, but deep down, you're really traumatized. Most survivors will have PTSD. That might come up, and so there's so many things that come up surrounding being back in touch. Like, for example, there's a lot of people who might experience childhood sexual abuse, might not necessarily remember exactly what happened, but whenever they're around that person,
they feel
something in them feels that something is not right. They're not okay. And if children that don't remember know this, how much more if you remember? Like, it's just, it doesn't seem healthy. However, if that's a choice you want to make, please, I always encourage people to make their choices. And regardless of what choice you make, we stand by you. You know, nobody abandons you because you made a choice that I wouldn't have made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's really important, I think, that we say that as survivors, we'll make different choices that will work for us in the moment. And that was the right choice for you to make in the moment. And it's important that we're not, you know, shutting survivors down because I told you not to do that and you did it, so you don't need my help. No. You know, so let's still be there for each other. Just because you choose to do something I may not have done doesn't mean I'm not here to support you. So, yeah, that's important. Is that it? Okay. There's no more questions on the... Let me check. I don't think there's any more questions on the website.
I think we've covered most of the questions, isn't it? I mean,
what kind of consequences should there be for sexual
offenders?
For example, if that person is an instrumentalist or church. Okay, so let's say somebody has... Kojo, why are you so excited? You're going to...
jail.
Yeah, that's my favorite because you're going to jail. But yeah, okay, so if they've done it, first of all, the church should ideally, you know, go through the reporting process if the person chooses to. If the person that doesn't choose to report, if they say, actually, I don't want to report, then the church now has to have safeguarding policies. Anyway, so every church should have policies. So really and truly, I used to go in to let that person, you know, you're forgiven, however... Yeah, let's see, you know, are you going to leave that person with children by themselves? Probably not. You know, you really want to, consider that. So as a church, you should look into it. Obviously, every church works in a different way. So if it's a leader, like a pastor or something, I think they should step down. Straight away.
I agree with that.
Straight away. If you're a leader, you should step down.
I agree with that.
It is what it is. You know, you are forgiven, but you can do that from the back benches. Yeah, you know.
100% agree that.
Yeah, I think that's the last question. Wait. I was wondering how to do a structure. Okay, no, that doesn't apply to this life. Yeah. So, yeah, I think a lot of pastors don't want to, you know, step down because, no, immediately step down. Grace is available to you from the audience. From the audience, you'll be stepping out. And then let me just check if there's anything else. think that's mostly it. So basically about who we are as an organization. So we're called Hasana.
Beautiful, go for it.
We're called Hasana, and her is just her because we work with women and girls, specifically Black women and girls. Sana means basically, it's Latin, it means sanctuary, her safe space, her place of rest, because that's what we want to be. So we're called Hasana, and we are a charity that works with Black women and girls who've experienced any form of gender-based violence. So sexual exploitation, trafficking, FGM, domestic violence, sexual violence, harassment and stalking, all of those. So, and more. Whatever you feel like didn't feel right, let us know. We'll support you. And we support women and girls with counseling and emotional support. We also support women and girls through the court process, through the criminal justice system, if they choose to report. And we would do group sessions. We do live chat. It's anonymous, so nobody will know. We do FaceTime, Skype, especially in this season. For some of us, home is the safest place to be. That's why we're in quarantine. But for some other people, it's not. Some other people, the abuse happens at home, so it's not safe. And it's not safe to pick up the phone to call, so it's easier to be on your phone and type. We offer an anonymous live chat service. It's open 24 hours in the day. Please chat to us if you can. If we're closed at any point, because there's not many of us, we will always get back to you. And you can leave your email if you feel comfortable, or you can make a fake email. As long as you contact, we don't care. We're not here to ask you for details. We're not here to ask you for names. We're not here to ask you for your age. That's not what matters. What matters is us supporting you. Our support is anonymous and confidential. And so we are not going to say anything that you say to us to anyone else outside of the organization, and also not to the police. Unless, of course, it's a terrorist attack against the Lizzie. That one I have to report, so please don't come to me with that one, okay? And I think it's so important for Black women to have their safe spaces. Looking at all the statistics, it's really important for us to have our own space.
Come on now.
A service for us, by us, and with us in mind. Is so important. So we are having those spaces. So please do talk to us. I deliver training sessions. I'm a qualified trainer, so
Come on now.
I deliver sessions all around England and Wales, really. So let me know, and I can come to your organization once this growing time is over, of course. I can come over. We can talk about it. We can even start discussing now. I do Zoom meetings, and we can talk about what would work for your church, ministry, university, society, school group. Listen, anything will make it work. And I don't charge. If you don't want this knowledge, now that it's free, then you're not a serious candidate.
That's it.
You're just not a serious candidate.
That's it.
Yeah? So please holler at me whilst it's available. And yeah, my DMs are always open as well. So if you have any other questions via DM, let me know. We're not judging over here. It doesn't matter. Whatever happened, it doesn't matter. I just want to let you know it wasn't your fault. We just want to support you. We just want to love you. We just really want to love you. So, yeah, and I hope all of you have been blessed by this. Some people have already said that we should do another one.
Yes, we will. What do you think? Next week? Or during the week?
Let's discuss. My throat needs to recuperate,
Guys, I want to also say as well. I want to just reiterate what she said, which is that, guys, look, we have somebody in our midst, you understand, that is also Christian and also is entrenched in this topic, knows exactly what they're talking about, is an expert at this topic and understands how to deliver it. So, this is a great, and she said it's free. I don't know what else you want to hear. You want chicken with it as well? It's free. You understand? So listen, let's start using our influence. You're at different churches around the UK. Let's start talking to our leaders and saying, listen, hey, we've got somebody who can actually deliver a workshop around this subject, because this is not only important just to the females, it's important to me. I'm going to be a father one day and I may have a daughter. I'm not waiting for the thing to happen to my daughter before I get smart. You understand? This affects us as well. So I want you guys to really use your influence to really speak to your leaders and say, listen, we've got somebody who can deliver workshops on this topic. There is no more excuses. You understand? No more excuses. We are going to bring change and revolution to our church.
Amen.
Through these kind of methods. So, yeah. So, Chris, I want to thank you very, very, very much.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you, all of you. You guys are really great and supportive. And, yeah, thank you so much for being here, taking time out of your schedules to even come and listen to this. God bless you for your obedience. And I hope that this blesses you. And I pray, you are the kind of people that I wish survivors come across. The people that want to learn and are hungry to serve and support. So thank you. Honestly, thank you so much. And Coach, thank you for being such a wonderful ally.
By grace.
I've been an ally to this movement for a long time. When this idea was still in my head, yeah, you were pushing it. You've promoted me left, right, and center, and I just want to appreciate you for that, And thank you for using your influence to speak to your fellow men, your fellow brothers, and, educate them and raise awareness and put them in their place when you need to, frankly, call people out for their behavior. And so, yeah, we appreciate it, man. God bless you for it.
By grace, man. By grace. Guys, it's been beautiful. It's been amazing. It's been lovely. But it's time to go.
Yes, please.
I want to talk to your babes.
Don't spoil my market. Stop it. Don't spoil my market. Guys, he's lying.
Appreciate you guys, man. Stay loaded, man. Wow.
Next time.
Yeah. We'll let you know, innit? So we'll let you know soon, guys, when the next one's coming. So don't worry, guys. Yeah?
Right then. No worries.
Right, appreciate you.
Bye.
Let me save this before it happens to me.
Oh, my God. Can we save it?
Wait, how do I save it? If I end it, can I save it?
End it first and then you save it.
Okay, cool.
Love you too.
Who's saying love yous? Who all say love yous, fam? Who's not saying love you to me, fam?
Love you too, Daniela.
Someone said they're single. You're lying.
Hey.